Hi, I'm Bill Asberry, and on behalf of my wife, Ja, welcome back to POD, Philippines On Demand. Today I want to talk to you about how to ride the jeepney in the Philippines. Now, there are a lot of people here living here in the Philippines, or people that have visited and utilized the jeeps to get around their respective city. But there are many people who are or will be visiting the Philippines for the very first time. One of the things that I want to talk to you about in riding the jeepney in the Philippines is basic etiquette. Meaning, here's some basics that you need to learn. Bayad. Bayad means basically my payment. So you're going to say bayad, and you're going to hand your money to the person next to you, and then they pass it forward. If it's not your money and it's somebody else's money, then it's bayad daw, daw, bayad daw. It means that you're basically passing forward somebody else's money. Now you're probably thinking, I don't want to handle money. I don't want to handle somebody else's money. Well, if that's the case, then sit in the rear of the Jeep, at the very exit of the Jeep, or you can sit in the front seat of the Jeep if you can get a front seat. Okay, many times those are reserved for the elderly or handicapped or expectant mothers. But again, it's not a big deal. If you're sitting in the middle or toward the front side of the Jeep, just receive the money, bayad daw, and just pass it forward or hand it to the driver, depending on how close you are to the driver. And then if you want to get off the Jeep, you can say para. That means stop. Or another way you can say it is lugar lang. That means please stop, stop here. I would discourage anything over 100 pesos. If you have more than just yourself riding, then that would make sense. You can pass up 100 peso bill if you got 3 or 4 people riding with you, and of course depending on the cost of the fare. But if it's just you and you're on an 8 peso ride or a 10 peso ride or even a 20 peso ride, don't send up anything bigger than a 100 peso bill. I've seen people pass up, other foreigners pass forward 1,000 note. There's no way. There's just no way. If you give them a 1,000 peso note, which is equivalent to around $20 US, depending on the exchange rate, that's like paying, let's say, a 8 to 15 cents bill with a $20 bill. People kind of frown upon that even in the US. So just think small, because these jeepney drivers don't have a lot of money on them, and to be very honest with you, they don't have the time to sit there and try to make change. So keep it small. I would recommend bringing your coins. If you have a lot of coins, bring those with you. It's perfect. They love that. And again, it's etiquette. You don't want to if you send up a large bill and you're just paying for yourself, then the driver might not he might be able to make change for you, but what's happening then is it creates a backlog. He don't have enough money to give the other passengers on the Jeep their change, the money that's due back to them. So it's just a courtesy thing. Another piece of etiquette, excuse me, it's really hot today, very humid. Another piece of etiquette that you might want to keep in mind is if you are sitting in the front seat, and and it can hold 2 people, and you don't want anybody else to sit with you. Let's say you're on a 12 peso fare. In other words, the destination that you're going to will cost 12 pesos. Tell the driver, hey, I want to lock up this seat next to me. Here's 24 pesos. Here's 24. And that way you're actually paying for that seat and he's not losing money on that seat, okay? It's just a piece of etiquette. I've done that numerous times. And now if you're sitting in the back, of the Jeep and you're a kind of a large guy like myself, don't allow the driver to try to charge you too. And I'm gonna hop off the Jeep. Before I get into just very briefly about going over and how to learn the routes, I want to point something else out that I just thought about. If you're unsure of which way, if you're on a Jeep and you know that at some point you have to transfer to a second Jeep, my recommendation is to either sit in the front seat so you can communicate with the driver, or sit in the very back of the Jeep, at the very back of the Jeep. That way you can look out the back of the Jeep and keep an eye on the Jeeps that are coming up behind your Jeep, and you can read the signboards in the window. This Jeep doesn't have it right now, but they'll usually have signboards up in the window, in the windshield, so you know where it goes. Also, you can see the signboard above the windshield there, okay? So basically what that does is, if I'm looking at the Jeep behind the one that I'm riding in, and I start seeing the name of the place that I'm going to in the window, the signboard of the Jeep behind me, then I know, hey, I can jump off this Jeep, and I know that this is the route of that other Jeep because it's right there. So if I can't get on the one that's behind me, then I just wait for another Jeep to come by, and then I can hop on that one. That's another way to figure out where to transfer on your own. The other thing is, of course, your best tool in your toolbox is your voice, the power of communication. Ask somebody, ask the driver, or ask a passenger. One of the beautiful things about living here in the Philippines is they speak English. And the other thing, the icing on the cake, frosting on the cake, is that they're very nice. It's a very friendly culture, very open. Now, a lot of people sit there and they're real shy, and a lot of people want to talk to you, but maybe won't engage in conversation first. But if you engage them, then they open up, and then it's really fun. Then you can have a spirited conversation on the Jeep. So basically, the other key component in getting around is when you get into a Jeep, you have to be social. Become social. It's a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding. You make a lot of friends that way. So anyway, the other thing I want to point out is when you're on a Jeep, in the back of a Jeep, and I know it's common sense, but I see people doing it. You can ride with your arm like that, but don't hang your arm out the window, because when you get into rush hour, when you get into busy traffic, it doesn't take much for somebody to come through and side swipe you. So be very careful about that. Keep your I would not go any farther than that. That's what I do. I'll rest my arm, but I don't put my arm outside the vehicle. I like my arm. Okay, now let's get to the other thing I want to point out, and then we'll close out. Learning the jeepney routes. There's a couple of ways you can do this. You can go to Google, download a map, the city map in which that you're visiting or living in. Learn the main highways. Learn the barangays. What part of the city that what barangay belongs to, you know, north, east, south, west, that kind of thing. Learn where the barangays are, the highways, landmarks. That's a big thing. If you want to go to the Marco Polo Hotel, or if you want to go to the very popular Rojas night market, or you want to go to the main post office in Davao, this is your guy. This is your Jeep right here. The Catalunan Grande to Rojas Jeep, because those landmarks that I just mentioned are on Rojas Avenue, and you can do that. You can learn the landmarks in all the different areas of the city. Like, for example, if I want to go to the Minto markets, well, that one's common sense, because it's the Minto markets, right? It's the name of the barangay. So you just look for a Jeep on the signboard, in the windshield or above, and it'll say Minto, and you know you can catch a Minto Jeep and it'll take you right there. So once you download that map and you learn the barangays, you learn the highways, you familiarize yourself with some of the landmarks within the city that you're living in. Now here's the other piece of the puzzle. The Jeeps start making more sense when you load yourself up with information. This Jeep originates right here, Cat Grande. It'll go down Skyline, which is right out front here. That's the main road right out front here. And then it'll continue toward Diversion Road. But you're gonna cross straight across Diversion Road, and it's gonna bring you to MacArthur Highway. This Jeep is gonna take a left turn on MacArthur Highway, and then it proceeds along the highways that you may have familiarized yourself with. And as far as this Jeep will go is Rojas Avenue. And then it'll circle around, it'll make its route around Rojas Avenue, and it'll make its way back to its original destination, which is Catalunan Grande. Okay? It's really not that hard. It's a lot of fun. For the very first time, it can intimidate you. It did me, but don't be shy. Once you break through your shyness and get on the back of the Jeep, get out there. That's the best way to learn the city, to get around. And it's more economical, smart. The money that you save, you can put into other things, you know, into fun things. Use that money to go on the barge and go across a small island, or travel, or, you know, within the Philippines or something. But you don't need to spend your money foolishly on a taxi unless you really have the money and it's really not a big deal to you. The other thing I would like to point out, that a friend of mine, Randy Benoit, my Canadian friend, who travels back and forth between Canada and the Philippines for the past, I want to say 12 years, 12 to 14. His idea was to download an app on your mobile phone, all right, that shows the routes of the jeepneys within your city, and you can learn it that way too. Excellent idea. It was a great suggestion, but I also strongly encourage you to, if you really want to learn the jeepney routes in the city that you might be living in, download that map, learn those barangays, learn the highways, learn where all of those landmarks are. And one final thought, when you get onto it, that's the dispatcher conductor calling for more people to load up in the Jeep here at the Cat Grande terminal. I really hope that this video gave you some insight about riding on the Jeeps. There again, there's a lot of you that have been on the Jeeps and it's no big deal. You know, but for those of you who are planning on visiting the Philippines, never been here before, and you really want to try the culture and throw yourself into the culture, yeah, by all means, ride the Jeeps. Don't be shy. You know, if you get onto a Jeep and you get lost, you won't get lost. All you have to do is ask somebody, and they turn you right around. You get back on another Jeep and head back the way you came. Or your safety net are the taxis. You can ride a taxi to bail you out to get you back to where you came from. So anyway, I hope that you found this to be very useful, and if you stop by the Philippines, I hope you have a lot of fun. If you're in Davao City, give me a heads up, and you know, maybe we could sit down and have a cup of coffee or something. Okay, thank you very much, and take care.
Subscribe to this channel, man. This guy's great. He's so great. Oh my gosh. Let's go.
Salamat.